began working on the sketch by carefully studying the finished painting to capture its character, mood, and energy. A simple B2 pencil allowed me to gently outline the main forms without weighing the drawing down with unnecessary lines. First, I outlined the oval of the head and the position of the body, following the natural dynamics of the pose. A vertical line helped establish symmetry, and subtle arcs defined the tilt of the head and the position of the eyes. Next, I moved on to drawing the contours of the clothing and accessories, trying to convey their expressiveness. The volume of the corset, the soft folds of the sleeves, the curve of the hand holding the cup. I created light curls in the hair to maintain the airiness of the image. I used an eraser to adjust the proportions and accentuate highlights on the face and hands, emphasizing depth. The sketch turned out expressive and confident, preserving the lightness of the original composition and the character's personality. Once the sketch was completely finished and clearly conveyed all the main forms, I moved on to the most expressive stage, coloring. I used acrylic paints in 3 brushes, a fine, a medium, and a slightly larger than medium brush. This combination allowed me to work on large areas of the background without losing precision and fine detail. Moving on to the clothing, I used a medium brush to fill in large blocks of color and a fine brush to further refine the lines. I chose to make the jacket a bright purple to contrast with the warm background and highlight the figure. I painted the corset and the elements beneath it a rich blue, enhancing the feeling of freshness and depth. I used a fine brush on the buttons, seams, and curves, carefully emphasizing their graphic quality. I painted the pants in brownish gold tones, adding chaotic lines to maintain the artistic structure. The red belt brought additional energy to the composition. It is one of the most expressive elements of the painting. Here, I used the same medium brush, but applied the paint more thickly to convey volume and texture. I painted the hair in a rich red, emphasizing the curls, ringlets, and airiness. I added a few fine lines with a thinner brush to separate the strands and create a sense of movement. I tried to keep the curls vibrant without overloading them with detail. The face is the most delicate and subtle part of the face. With a thin brush, I carefully outlined the shape of the eyes, eyebrows, and lips. For the skin, I used a soft nude shade, applying it thinly so as not to overpower the lightness of the design. I made the lips bright and rich to add confidence and femininity to the image. I paid special attention to the eyes, carefully highlighting the pupils and eyelids, preserving the expressiveness of the gaze. I applied the background that sets the mood for the entire work. I chose bright, energetic strokes of red, orange, blue, and green, creating a sense of movement, warmth, and contrast. Using a large brush, I applied the colors in loose, bold strokes, so they didn't compete with the figure, but rather emphasized it. In some areas, I used mixed halftones to create a smooth transition. The acrylic paint allowed the layers to be applied richly, maintaining the dynamic character. In the final stage, I worked on the accessories and details that enliven the composition. I highlighted the glasses with white highlights, emphasizing their glassy appearance. I gave the cup a warm orange-yellow hue to complement both the hair and clothing. I carefully refined the seams, folds, and decorative elements of the clothing with a fine brush. I enhanced some edges to help the figure stand out better against the background. The final brushstrokes added depth and completeness, preserving the vibrancy and dynamism of the original concept. Critical evaluation of the painting. What worked well? The character's image is expressive with character and mood. The color palette is bright, picturesque, and memorable. The contrast between the background and the figure works well and brings the composition to life. The hair, corset, and cups are particularly striking. They stand out and create a balanced color palette. What could be improved? The body proportions could be adjusted slightly, especially around the arms and waistline. The face could be made more three-dimensional by adding soft shadows. The background sometimes competes too much with the figure. The transitions could be softened slightly. Some lines could be made more subtle, especially in the clothing and arms. What could be added or changed? Add subtle shadows under the arm and body to help the figure stand out better in space. Refine the shadows on the clothing, especially in the folds, to enhance volume. Add subtle highlights on the corset and jacket for depth. Some areas of the background could be slightly toned down for harmony. The work combines elements of pop art and illustration and is also reminiscent of steampunk aesthetics thanks to the clothing and glasses. The bright contrasting colors and graphic contours bring it closer to modern comic book illustrations. Who might like it? Lovers of bright, saturated colors, those who appreciate comic book style and illustrations, fans of steampunk imagery, people who appreciate emotional, lively female characters.